The first rays of sunlight stretch over quiet fields and wooden fences. Mist clings to the earth like breath on glass. The sound of a rooster cuts through the calm, followed by the soft hum of a woman's voice. In a small town where mornings always smelled of wet soil and pine, Eli Turner's hands built more than wood and nails. They built a home. And in that home lived a love that had weathered too many storms. Maria Turner, late 30s, kind eyes, a face carved by time and tenderness, stands over the stove stirring a pot of oatmeal. She hums quietly, her movements careful and practiced. The kettle whistles softly beside her. Through the window, she can see Eli Turner, early 40s, strong but weary, working by the fence. His shirt is worn, sleeves rolled to his elbows, revealing arms lined with scars and veins. He drives a nail in, pauses, and presses a hand to his chest. Maria notices. Her smile falters. She steps outside, wiping her hands on her apron. "Maria, you should rest, Eli. That fence can wait another day." Eli, grinning faintly. "And let the goats run wild again? You'd have a heart attack before I did." She gives him a soft look, half amused, half worried. "Maria, that's not funny." "Eli, you're right." He hammers another nail. "But if I don't fix it now, the rain'll take the whole thing down." Maria folds her arms, watching him for a moment. There's a quiet ache between them, the kind that doesn't need words. Love, for them, wasn't made of grand promises. It was in small acts. A fixed fence, a warm meal, a look that lingered longer than words could hold. They sit at a small wooden table. Breakfast is simple. Oatmeal, bread, and coffee that's gone slightly cold. The air feels still. "Maria, the doctor said you need to slow down. You can't just pretend your heart's made of oak, Eli." "It's fine, Maria. Just a bit of pressure now and then." Maria sighs. "You said that last time, before you ended up flat on the ground." He looks away, ashamed, then reaches across the table to take her hand. His fingers are rough and warm. "Eli, we'll be all right, I promise. Work's been better. The new barn for the Harpers. They'll pay good." "Maria, money isn't what I'm worried about." She looks at their joined hands. "I just don't want to lose you, too." A long silence. The ticking of a wall clock fills the room. "Eli, you won't. I'm not going anywhere." He squeezes her hand, but his eyes drift, distant. There's something heavy in them, something unspoken. Eli walks through the field behind their house. The wind moves through the tall grass, whispering. He pauses near a small wooden cross half hidden in the earth, the grave of a child. He kneels, brushing dust from the wood. His hand trembles slightly. Maria stands in the distance, watching him, her eyes shining with quiet grief. They had already buried one piece of their hearts once before. A tiny heartbeat that never grew into a cry. And since then, every silence carried its echo. The sky darkens. Clouds gather heavy and gray. Inside, Maria lights a single candle on the table. Eli is by the window, rubbing his chest. "Maria, you should lie down. You look pale." He nods but doesn't move. The candle flame wavers with the wind slipping through a crack. Maria, softly, without looking up. "Sometimes I dream I can still hear what's gone, like it's calling me back." Eli looks at her, uneasy. Eli dreams are just memories talking too loud. Maria forces a smile. The sound of thunder grumbles far away. Rain lashes the roof. Wind howls through the valley. Lightning flashes across the sky. Eli and Maria lie in bed. The candle has burned low. The storm outside rattles the windows. Eli stirs, clutching his chest. His breathing sharpens. He gasps, sitting up, pain shooting through his body. Maria, Eli? Eli, what's wrong? He tries to speak, but only manages a strangled breath before collapsing. Maria, screaming. Eli! Oh, God. Eli! She drops beside him, shaking him, sobbing. The thunder crashes louder, drowning out her cries. And in one flash of lightning, the world that had always felt so alive suddenly went silent. Rain slams against the windows. The room flickers with candlelight. Maria kneels beside Eli, whose body lies still on the floor. His face is pale, lips fading to gray. Maria! Crying out. Eli! Please, open your eyes, please. Her hands shake as she presses against his chest, trying to remember what the doctor once told her. She pushes down hard, over and over, counting under her breath through tears. Maria. 1, 2, 3. Breathe! Breathe, Eli! Nothing. Only the storm answers. She leans down, presses her lips to his, trying to give him air, desperate, trembling. Then, silence. His body goes still. The candle flickers, and in its weak light, Maria's face breaks. Maria, whispering, "Don't do this to me." "Not you too." Headlights cut through the rain. Maria drives an old truck through mud and darkness. Eli slumped beside her, his head on her lap. Her hands are white around the steering wheel. Her tears mix with the rain that leaks through the cracked windshield. Sometimes, the longest road in the world is the one between hope and the hospital. A small, rural hospital. The halls smell of disinfectant and rain. A doctor, weary-eyed, stands before her. Behind him, Eli lies on a bed under a white sheet. "Doctor, I'm sorry, Mrs. Turner. There was nothing we could do." Maria doesn't move. Her eyes fix on Eli's covered face, waiting for it to rise, waiting for anything. Maria checks his pulse herself. No, he's warm. He's still warm. Please, just one more time. The doctor lays a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Doctor, he's gone, Maria." She lets out a low, broken sound. A sound that doesn't belong to words. Her knees give out. She clings to the edge of the bed as though she could hold him there through sheer will. Time blurs. The storm fades outside. The room grows quiet except for the hum of a single light. Maria sits by Eli's side, holding his hand. Her fingers trace the lines of his palm. She whispers to him like he can still hear. "Maria, you promised you wouldn't leave. You said we'd be all right." Tears fall on his skin, darkening it like raindrops on old wood. A priest steps in softly, removing his hat. "Priest Maria, my dear. He's at peace now. Let him rest. Maria, how can I rest? When he's not breathing?" The priest doesn't answer. He only lowers his eyes. A wooden coffin rests on a table surrounded by lilies. The air smells of wax and flowers. Maria stands beside it, pale and distant, her hand resting on the lid. The undertaker nods politely, waiting. Undertaker, we'll take him to the cemetery at noon. Mrs. Turner, she nods absently, her eyes unfocused. She bends over the coffin, brushing Eli's hair from his forehead. Maria, softly. You always hated flowers. Said they belonged in fields, not in boxes. Her voice cracks. She leans in closer, pressing her lips to his cold cheek. Narrator, VO. There are goodbyes that sound like whispers, and there are those that tear through the soul. The lid closes with a soft, final click. The sky is gray. Rain threatens again. A small crowd gathers. Neighbors, the priest, a few friends. The sound of the wind fills the empty spaces between words. Maria stands still, dressed in black. She doesn't hold an umbrella. Her eyes are hollow but dry. She has no more tears left to give. The priest begins to speak, voice low and steady. Priest Eli Turner was a man of quiet faith, humble work, and honest hands. May his rest be eternal. Maria barely hears him. Her eyes are fixed on the coffin as it's lowered into the ground. The ropes creak. The wood scrapes. Then the first shovel of dirt falls. A hollow thud. Then another, and another. Each sound hits like a heartbeat she can no longer reach. For Maria, it wasn't the thunder that sounded like death. It was the weight of soil hitting the wood. Dull, final, unanswerable. She grips the edge of the grave, leaning forward. Maria, whispering, "Goodbye, my heart. I'll find you again." A faint twitch runs through Eli's finger. No one sees it. A second later, a soft thump echoes from the coffin below. The crowd mistakes it for distant thunder. The rain starts again. People leave, umbrellas rising like dark wings. Maria stays, kneeling by the fresh mound, soaked and trembling. The priest returns, gently pulling her to her feet. Priest, he's gone. Maria, you need to come inside. Maria, quietly, broken. No, he's here. I can still feel him. She presses her palm against the wet soil. Priest, that's just grief talking. Then let me talk to it. Lightning flashes across the sky, white and blinding. The thunder rolls again, louder this time, shaking. The storm has passed, leaving the world soaked and quiet. Rainwater drips from the roof. The fields shimmer under the moonlight, silver and still. Inside the Turner house, all lights are out, except for one small candle flickering on the kitchen table. The house felt emptier than ever. It breathed in silence, like it too had lost something it couldn't name. Maria lies in bed, wide awake. The other side of the mattress is cold, untouched. Her eyes trace the ceiling as the wind moans outside. A clock ticks slowly in the background. Tick, tick, tick. She turns on her side, clutching Eli's pillow to her chest. His scent still lingers faintly. Wood shavings, soap, and the warmth of him. Maria, V.O. You promised you wouldn't leave me. You said we'd be all right. Her eyes close tightly, as if she can will him back. The rain starts again, a soft patter against the window. Then a sound, tap, 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 faint, rhythmic, like someone knocking, far away, but real. Maria's eyes snap open. She holds her breath, listening. Silence. She lets out a shaky sigh. Maria, whispering. It's just the storm, just the house settling. She closes her eyes again. Darkness. The sound returns, louder this time. Knock, knock, knock. Then a muffled voice, too distant to understand. Maria turns in circles, searching. The darkness around her feels thick, heavy, alive. A faint light glows beneath her feet. Dirt, roots, and wood. She kneels, pressing her ear to the ground. The knocking is clear now, desperate. Voice, muffled, weak. Maria. Her eyes widen. Maria, Eli? Suddenly, two hands burst from the soil beneath her. She screams! Maria bolts upright, gasping for air. Sweat clings to her face, her hands shaking. She looks around. The room is still. Candlelight trembling against the wall. Dreams can sound like truth when grief is loud enough. She climbs out of bed and walks to the window, her bare feet cold against the wooden floor. Outside, fog curls through the fields. In the distance, the graveyard sits like a shadowed scar on the land. The rain starts again, soft and steady. Under the moonlight, The fresh soil on Eli's grave glistens like wet skin. Maria's fingers tighten on the window frame. For a moment, she swears she sees the earth move. She blinks. It's still. Maria, to herself. You're losing your mind. She lights another candle and sets it near the window, as if to push back the darkness outside. The flame flickers wildly, almost dancing to a rhythm. Then it goes out. Darkness. Silence. Tap. 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 The sound again, closer this time, coming from the direction of the window. She freezes, her heart pounding. The room is still. The only sound is her own breath. Then one last knock. Louder, sharp, unmistakable. Maria backs away slowly, trembling. That night, the wind carried more than rain. It carried the sound of something, waiting to be heard. Maria stands in the darkness, her eyes locked on the window. Outside, the fog thickens, swallowing the fields whole. The world wakes pale and misty. The rain has stopped, but the fog clings to the ground like it refuses to leave. Maria steps out onto the porch, wrapped in her shawl. Her eyes are red, sleepless. The air feels too quiet, as if the earth itself is holding its breath. She looks toward the cemetery at the edge of the property. A single crow sits atop a crooked fence post, staring at her. It caws once, sharp, cutting through the silence. Narrator. V.O. When grief runs too deep, even silence sounds like it's whispering back. Maria sits at the table, untouched tea cooling in front of her. Old Mrs. Halley, the midwife from town, sits across from her, hands folded, eyes filled with concern. Mrs. Halley, you've barely eaten, child. He wouldn't want you fading away like this. Maria doesn't answer. She's staring at the window again, the one facing the cemetery. Mrs. Halley, gently. You need rest. Sleep tricks the heart when it's hurting. Maria finally speaks, her voice thin, trembling. Maria, what if it wasn't a dream? Mrs. Halley pauses, her expression tightening. Maria, continuing, whispering. I heard him last night, knocking, calling my name. A silence stretches between them. The older woman forces a small smile, the kind people give to the broken when they don't know what to say. Mrs. Halley. That's just your mind trying to hold on, dear. It's normal. Maria's gaze doesn't leave the fog outside. Maria, quietly. It didn't feel normal. The house groans as the wind pushes against its old frame. Maria walks through the halls holding one of Eli's shirts, pressing it to her face. Breathing him in, every sound feels amplified. The creak of the floorboards, the whisper of curtains, the faint hum of air through the walls. She stops in front of the mirror. Her reflection looks back, pale, hollow-eyed, almost unrecognizable. Grief has a way of stealing faces. One tear, one sleepless night at a time. A sudden thud echoes from outside. Maria spins toward the window. The shovel, the one she left by the shed after the funeral, has fallen to the ground. Her breath catches. She steps outside barefoot, the cold mud sinking beneath her feet. The air feels heavy. She kneels to pick up the shovel, then freezes. The handle is smeared with dirt. Fresh dirt. Maria's hand trembles as she touches it. The earth near the shed looks disturbed, uneven, as if something had been dragged through it. Maria, to herself. No, no, that's not real. She drops the shovel and stumbles back, her mind spinning. Candles flicker in every room. The house glows dimly, alive with shadows. Maria sits at the table with Eli's old journal open in front of her, filled with sketches, half-written notes, thoughts about their life together. She runs her fingers over his handwriting. Then she sees something she never noticed before. A line scribbled in the corner of one page. If anything ever happens to me, don't believe the silence. Her breath hitches. The candle flame shivers. Tap, tap, tap. It comes again. The same faint knocking. Maria's eyes dart to the door, then the window, then the floorboards beneath her feet. Tap, tap, tap. Louder now. Rhythmic. Insistent. She stands slowly, whispering, "Maria." "Eli?" Nothing. Her breath fogs in the cold air. The sound stops, then resumes, faintly, from beneath the floor. The human mind can make ghosts out of echoes. But what if the echoes are real? Maria drops to her knees, pressing her ear to the floorboards. Nothing. Only silence. She begins to cry. A soft, broken sound, half prayer, half madness. "Maria," through tears, "please, if it's you, give me a sign." The candles flicker violently, then all go out. Darkness. In the silence, a voice barely above a whisper. Eli, faint. "Maria." She gasps, crawling backward, her heart racing. Lightning flashes outside, illuminating her face, a mix of terror and desperate hope. That night, she stopped fearing the dark, because somewhere in it, she began to believe. The rain had not returned, but the ground still carried its memory, damp, dark, and soft underfoot. Maria hadn't slept. Her hands shook as she tied her shawl tighter around her shoulders, staring through the fog at the small cemetery beyond the fence. Each step toward it felt heavier than the last, as if the air itself were warning her to turn back. The morning light was pale, weak, the kind that couldn't chase away shadows. The headstones stood like quiet witnesses. Eli's grave was, near the far edge, the soil still loose, the wooden marker freshly carved with his name. She froze when she saw it. Something wasn't right. The earth had sunk unevenly overnight, not the slow settling of a grave, but the kind that comes from movement beneath. Her throat tightened. The spade she'd dropped the day before lay beside the fence, waiting, as though it knew she'd return. Maria hesitated only a moment before grabbing it. Her breaths came quick, uneven. The first dig was shallow, trembling. The second, stronger. Soon the sound of metal against wet soil filled the silence. Her shawl slipped from her shoulders. Her arms trembled, streaked with mud. Every part of her screamed to stop. But something deeper pulled her forward. Each shovel of dirt brought the memory of the knocking closer. She could almost hear it again, faint and rhythmic beneath her heartbeat. The spade struck wood. She froze. The coffin lid, pale, soaked, splintered. Her breath came sharp. Tears blurred her vision. Slowly, she brushed the dirt away with her hands. Her fingers met the cold surface of the coffin. Then, faintly, tap, tap, tap. She stumbled back, choking on a sob. It wasn't possible. Her knees gave out. She fell forward, pressing her ear to the wood. Her whole body trembled. A voice, hoarse, broken, whispered from inside. "Maria!" She screamed, crawled backward through the mud. For a heartbeat, the world tilted. Sky, earth, grief, all spinning around her. Then she ran. Her footsteps tore through the wet grass toward the house. She burst through the door, gasping for breath, her hands shaking uncontrollably. On the table, Eli's journal lay open again, the page with the warning staring up at her. "Don't believe the silence." She clutched it to her chest, whispering through tears, "I heard you. I swear I heard you." The sound of thunder rolled in the distance, low and slow. Maria looked toward the window and froze again. Out near the cemetery, the fog swirled unnaturally, rising and twisting like smoke from beneath the ground. She ran back outside, heart pounding, the wind pulling at her hair. The grave was open wider now. She hadn't done that. Dirt had shifted, spilling outward. A man from the neighboring farm, Caleb, came running up behind her, shouting her name. "Maria, what have you done?" He stared at the half-open grave, eyes wide with disbelief. She grabbed his arm, desperate. "He's alive. I heard him. He's calling." But when he leaned down to listen, the sound was gone. No tapping. No voice. Only silence and the rustle of wind through the grass. Caleb shook his head slowly. "Maria, grief is cruel. You need rest." She pulled away from him, clutching the spade, her voice rising with wild conviction. "I'm not mad. He's in there." Her words broke against the emptiness of the morning. She dropped to her knees beside the grave, digging with her hands now, sobbing, mud under her nails, her breath ragged. Then, suddenly, something inside the coffin shifted. Caleb's face went pale. He stepped back. The sound came again, clearer this time. 3 sharp knocks, slow and deliberate. Caleb's disbelief turned to horror. Together, they stared at the coffin. The voice, weak, strained, rose again. "Please, help me." The man leapt forward, fumbling for the spade. He and Maria dug wildly, tossing handfuls of earth aside. Wood splintered as the lid was pried open. Inside, Eli lay half-buried in darkness, dirt pressed into his hair, his skin pale and slick with sweat. His eyes fluttered open at the sight of her. "Maria," she reached for him, sobbing. "I thought I lost you." He gasped for air, his voice faint. "You almost did." Maria cradled his face in her hands, tears mixing with mud. Around them, the fog thickened, as if the world itself was holding its breath. The impossible had become real. The dead had spoken. And as Eli's trembling hand closed around hers, Maria understood one terrible truth. Death had touched him, but hadn't let go completely. Morning sunlight filters through thin white curtains, settling gently across the room. The soft glow touches Eli's face. Pale, drawn, but alive. The air smells faintly of herbs and damp linen. Beside the bed, Maria sits silently, her eyes red from nights without sleep. Her hands rest in her lap, clasped tightly, as though still afraid that if she lets go, he might slip away again. Eli's breathing is slow and uneven. Each rise and fall of his chest feels like a miracle, and a reminder of how close he came to the grave. His lips part, dry and trembling. "How long? Was I gone?" Maria leans closer, brushing his hair back from his forehead. 3 days, she whispers. "They buried you 3 days ago." His eyes widen slightly. He tries to speak, but his throat gives only a rasp of sound. His hands twitch against the blanket, as though reaching for the memory of that darkness he had endured. Maria presses his fingers to her lips. "Don't," she says softly. "You're safe now." The town doctor, a tired man with kind eyes, enters quietly, carrying a small wooden case. He checks Eli's pulse, listens to his chest, and sighs in disbelief. "It's beyond explanation," he murmurs. His heart must have stopped, but not fully. A state of suspended animation, perhaps. I've read of it only once. The body slows so much it seems dead. Maria looks up sharply. "You mean he wasn't?" The doctor hesitates. By every measure he was. Cold. Breathless. No heartbeat I could detect. You couldn't have known. Eli's voice, weak but edged with sorrow, interrupts. You buried me, Maria. She flinches as if struck. I thought you were gone, she says, her voice cracking. They said. Everyone said. She stops, shaking her head, the tears coming fast. I heard you that night. I thought I was losing my mind, but I heard you. He reaches for her hand again, their fingers trembling together. You saved me, he whispers. When I couldn't breathe, when everything went black. I heard you calling my name. That's what pulled me back. Maria closes her eyes, tears falling freely now. I didn't save you, she says, voice barely a breath. I buried you alive. Silence fills the room, heavy and sharp. Outside, a breeze moves through the open window, carrying the smell of wet earth and grass. Life goes on quietly beyond their walls. But inside, time feels fragile, as if every moment could crumble under the weight of what they've endured. Eli stares at the ceiling. His memories come in flashes. The muffled world of the coffin, the pounding of his own heartbeat fading, the press of wood above him, the panic, the helplessness, and then her voice, distant but clear, breaking through the dark like light through soil. I thought it was a dream, he says slowly. But it was you. You wouldn't stop calling me. Maria wipes her eyes with the back of her hand. I couldn't let go. Something inside me knew you weren't gone. I just didn't understand until it was almost too late. The doctor gathers his things and leaves quietly, offering a nod of respect. The town has already begun to talk, whispers of miracles and curses, of a man who rose from the grave. Some call him blessed, others won't look him in the eye. Children stare as he passes by the window. Church bells toll longer than usual, their echoes heavy with unease. At night, Maria sits by his bed, refusing to sleep. The candle burns low, the shadows long. Sometimes, when Eli dreams, his body jerks. Suddenly, his hands clutching the sheets as though he's back underground. She soothes him each time, whispering, You're home. You're breathing. You're safe. But she can't escape her own guilt. Months have passed since the night Maria dug through the grave. The world has changed around them, but for Eli and Maria Turner, every sunrise still feels like a borrowed miracle. The small countryside town that once pitied them now keeps its distance. Some whisper about the man who came back, calling him cursed. Others light candles for him at church, afraid not to. The Turners don't correct them. They simply pack what little they own and move away, leaving behind the grave that almost became his forever home. Their new cottage sits near the edge of a quiet forest, small, wooden, and filled with the scent of pine. Eli rebuilt it himself, board by board, even though his hands still tremble when he lifts a hammer. Maria tends to a small garden outside, her laughter softer now, her eyes older. Sometimes, when the wind passes through the trees just right, she glances up, as if expecting to hear that sound again, those 3 faint knocks that once broke her heart open. Inside, on a shelf above their table, sits a small wooden box, carved from the remains of Eli's coffin. He made it during his recovery. Its edges are smooth, its surface polished, the grain of the wood dark and deep. When Maria first saw it, she couldn't bring herself to touch it. But Eli smiled and said, It's not Death's box anymore. It's ours. Inside the box, they keep a few things. A locket with their initials, a folded piece of paper with the words, Don't believe the silence written in Maria's hand. and a tiny wooden heart, carved the day he first stepped outside again. Eli's health returns slowly. He still wakes some nights drenched in sweat, gasping as though he's back beneath the earth. When that happens, Maria holds him until his breathing steadies. "You're home," she always whispers. "You're breathing. You're mine." By morning, the fear fades, replaced by quiet gratitude. They eat breakfast together, talk about small things, the color of the sky, the way the light catches the hills. For them, every ordinary moment feels sacred now. Still, not everything can be forgotten. Sometimes Maria dreams of digging, her nails clawing through dirt, her lungs burning with panic. Sometimes Eli dreams of darkness closing in, his fingers bleeding as he pounds against the coffin lid. But when they wake, they find each other's hands and remind themselves, "It's over. We're still here." One autumn afternoon, Maria returns to the old town alone. The journey is long and silent. She carries only a single white lily and the wooden box in her arms. When she reaches the graveyard, it's almost empty. Just wind, trees, and the whisper of leaves. She kneels where the grave once was, tracing her fingers across the earth that once held him captive. The soil feels cold, but not cruel anymore. Just another part of the world they've survived. She places the lily down gently, then opens the wooden box. For a long moment, she stares at its contents, the heart, the paper, the locket, then closes it again and presses it to her chest. The wind rises, carrying the faint sound of distant thunder. Though the sky is clear, she looks up, smiling faintly. "Some loves," she whispers, "don't die quietly." She sets the box on the ground beside the lily and stands. The sunlight breaks through the clouds, catching on the wet grass and the stones around her. The grave marker glints for a moment, not as a reminder of death, but as proof of what love refused to let go. As she turns to leave, the wind stirs again. Somewhere in the quiet distance, there's a soft sound. Tap, tap, tap. Maria pauses, closes her eyes, and smiles. "It's all right," she whispers. "I hear you." Some loves refuse the silence of the grave. They knock until the living remember.